Courage and confidence. Forward hypnosis. Thanks to the stage, TV, and a lot of movies, the very word calls forth a picture of a whiskered and devilish hypnotist swaying a pocket watch before his zombie-like subject's face. Or of individuals who are barking like puppies or clacking like chickens, or acting in another unusual manner on a stage. Regrettable. As the misconceptions induced by the false stuff on stage and television have scared a lot of people away from benefiting from this fantastic and potent sensory system that is simply as natural as breathing. With knowledge comes might. The goal of this e-book is to help you to comprehend what is inducing you to have feelings of fear, doubtfulness, and a lack of confidence, and how to go about substituting these damaging feelings with feelings of confidence and courage. Courage and confidence. Summon the giant within and take control of your destiny. Chapter 1: Confidence as a Mental Attitude. Synopsis. It might sound commonplace, but now is really the first day of the remainder of your life. Confidence as a mental attitude, which will let you have confident, yet honest opinions of yourself and your states of affairs. When you have confidence, you'll believe on your own powers, and have a universal sense of command over your life. You'll think that, within reason, you'll be able to accomplish what you wish to do. Attitude. Confidence as a mental attitude that's learned with experiences. Once you undergo success, you'll tend to anticipate being successful. And that notion of anticipation will cause you to have a feeling of self-confidence. For instance, a young fellow wishes to learn how to be a boxer, so he acquires lessons, and acquires a coach. His coach won't put him into the ring till he has accumulated adequate stamina and skill. And even then, the coach will only put him up against a rival that he recognizes his fighter may beat. When his fighter beats the adversary, he's successful, and begins to realize confidence in his abilities. With every contest, the coach puts his fighter up against an adversary who's a slimly better fighter than the last, but not great enough to trounce his man. By the finish of the third fight, the young boxer starts to expect to win his fourth, and so his self-confidence continues to develop. This scenario goes forward to repeat itself. And as long as the fighter succeeds, his expectations of success, and his feelings of confidence will go on to grow. Conceive of how your life would be better if you felt confident. First of all, sit back and take a couple of minutes to let yourself relax. If you understand how to do progressive relaxation, then you ought to go ahead and do that. Or, you are able to download something off the net. Or merely fantasize a relaxing experience. Do you like the beach? If you do, then make a short illusion of being at the beach. If your thing is the mountains, then make an illusion of being there. When you feel decompressed, it's time for you to start your first exercise. Make a mental picture of yourself. In your picture, I need you to see yourself looking to have self-assurance. What would you like self-assurance to achieve for you? How would you like it to make your life more beneficial? That's what the story of your mental picture will be about. Make your picture as truthful as possible. To the best of your power, you have to make them moving, colorized, close, 3D, centered sharply, and typically bright. Try out the following properties of your mental picture to see which one makes it feel the most credible to you. Attempt putting in a border, attempt making it borderless, like an unframed image, attempt making your picture into a panorama. Correct your picture so that it feels as true and believable as possible. The more frequently you watch these mental pictures, the more beneficial. Bedtime is a fantabulous time to make these mental pictures. Brief recap: self-confidence as a mental attitude that's learned with experiences. Once you have success, you'll tend to expect to be successful. And that anticipation will cause you to get a feeling of self-assurance. A minute ago we talked about how a coach could help to build up his boxer's confidence. Likewise, a girl who's afraid of heights wishes to learn to plunge into a swimming pool from an elevated diving board. So she determines a diving coach who asks her to leap into the pool from the first step of the ladder up to the elevated board. The first step of the ladder isn't really high, so the girl feels no fright, and she bounds from that step, and lands in the water unscathed. Following, the coach has her leap from the second step of the ladder, and so on. I believe that you're beginning to comprehend. With every additional step up the ladder, as the young lady was successful on the prior step, and this following step is only somewhat higher than the last, the fright factor is paltry, and the missy expects to be successful. When she leaps in and lands unscathed, the girl's self-confidence grows, and her anticipation of success on the following step up the ladder step-ups. If an individual who has a long history of success and notions of self-confidence does bomb, they all the same tend to expect success the following time out. Conversely, when an individual who's weak in the confidence department bombs, they tend to lose self-confidence, and start to anticipate failure, which may become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Having real self-assurance doesn't mean that you'll be able to accomplish everything. Individuals who have true confidence commonly have expectations that are truthful. Even when a few of their expectations are not fulfilled, they go on to be positive and to accept themselves. Individuals who lack self-confidence tend to depend to a fault on the approval of other people in order to feel good about themselves. They tend to prevent taking risks as they fear failure. They frequently put themselves down and tend to discount or brush aside the compliments that they do get. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Chapter 2, Anticipations. Synopsis. Do you recall the Rubik's Cube that we all had when we were youngsters? It's a block that has many little different colored cubes assembled into it. And you are able to twist and turn every cube so that every side of the block is either one solid color, or it appears like a checkerboard of different colors. See the outcome first. You'd twist the cubes so that every side of the block looked like a checkerboard of dissimilar colors. The hurdle of the puzzle is to attempt to twist it all back so that every side of the block is one solid color once again. Have you ever used a Rubik's Cube? Do you recall how difficult it was for you to figure out the puzzle of the Rubik's Cube? It appeared to be out of the question. And all the same, there are competitions, and a few youngsters can solve the puzzle in a couple of minutes. All the same, now here is the astonishing thing: youngsters may solve these puzzles, but grown-ups find it nearly inconceivable. Now, why do you think that is? I believe that it's because youngsters don't understand that it's out of the question to solve the puzzle, and as they don't know it's out of the question, they're able to resolve it. Perhaps they don't understand it's out of the question as they haven't had enough time in their little life to go through much failure. However, by the time you're a grown-up, you've experienced failure at assorted complex puzzles a lot of times, and so your anticipations are really different from those of a youngster. And as you get what you anticipate, do you wish to find out how to begin expecting what you wish so that you are able to really acquire it? Then you'll wish to go back to chapter 1 of this e-book and rehearse the mental exercise that I provided you there. However, this time, you have to make a slim modification to the exercise. After you've viewed the picture of yourself behaving and feeling like you have self-assurance, rewind the movie and get inside of it so that the camera is within of your head, and your eyes are the lenses of the camera. Put differently, see what you'd see, from the same view as really being there. And you'll wish to hear what you'd hear, and feel what you'd feel if you were really living inside of that picture. Envisage how much better your life would be if you could feel positive. You may get the lady friend, or the guy, and have the home with the white picket fence. Or how good would you feel if you were able to acquire a more beneficial line of work, or begin a business of your own? Picture what your life will be like once you feel totally confident. Among the members of the gym that I belong to is forever kidding around with me. He forever asks me if he may hire me to do his workouts for him. And that gave me a thought. What if you could purchase self-assurance? Would you? As actually you are able to. If you truly want to alter your life rapidly and easily and get the lady friend, or the financial success, or the early retirement, then you'll wish to go online and take a good look at self-assurance. As we talked about earlier, individuals who lack self-confidence tend to depend excessively on the approval of other people in order to feel great about themselves. They tend to prevent taking risks as they fear failure. They frequently put themselves down and tend to discount or brush aside the compliments that they do get. Conversely, when you're a confident individual, you'll be willing to risk the disapproval of other people as you'll trust your own abilities. You'll be able to accept yourself, and you won't feel like you have to adapt in order to be accepted. Simply because an individual feels self-assurance in one or more facets of their life, doesn't mean that they'll feel confident in each part of their life. For instance, an individual may feel confident about their athletic ability, but not feel positive where members of the opposite sex are involved, like in a dating state of affairs, or social relationships. So one may feel confident on the one hand, while feeling timid on the other. Chapter 3, Beginning Factors and Suppositions. Synopsis: How is confidence acquired at first, and what about the suppositions? Behind the scenes, a lot of factors bear upon the development of confidence. Parents' mental attitudes are of the essence in the way youngsters feel about themselves, especially in their early years. When parents supply acceptance, youngsters get a solid foundation for great feelings about themselves. If one or both parents are overly critical or demanding, or if they're overprotective and discourage moves towards independence, youngsters might come to trust they're incapable, inadequate, or substandard. All the same, if parents promote a youngster's moves towards self-reliance, and they're not too critical when the youngster makes errors, the youngster will learn to accept herself, and will be on the way to acquiring self-confidence. A deficiency of self-assurance isn't inevitably related to a lack of ability. A deficiency of self-assurance is frequently the result of centering too strongly on the unrealistic expectancies of other people, particularly parents and acquaintances. The influence of acquaintances may be more potent than those of parents in defining the feelings about oneself. In reaction to external influences, individuals develop suppositions. A few of these are constructive and a few are adverse. In the next chapter we'll discuss the fact that there are a lot of suppositions that may interfere with self-confidence and alternate ways of thinking. I understand that you wish to feel like you're in command of your life, feel great about yourself, believe in your own powers, feel the bravery to have fresh and exciting experiences, evidence a positive future, get to be much more popular. Most of us find confident individuals more magnetic, feel fantastic, self-regard suppositions that individuals arrive at. Earlier we talked about the difference between individuals who have self-assurance, and those individuals who do not. We likewise talked about how self-assurance is initially acquired. Now we'll discuss particular suppositions that individuals make. In response to outside influences, individuals develop suppositions. A few of these are constructive and some are adverse. Many presumptions that may interfere with self-assurance and alternate ways of thinking are: supposition, I must forever be successful at everything that I do. This is an altogether unrealistic presumption. In the real world, each individual has their strengths, and their failings. While it's crucial to learn to do the best that one may, it's more significant to learn to accept the self as being human, and imperfect. Feel great about what you're great at, and live with the fact that no one knows everything, or is an authority at everything. Supposal, I have to be perfect, and loved by everybody, and satisfy everybody. Over again, this is an entirely unrealistic supposition. All human beings are fallible. It's more beneficial to develop personal criteria and values that are not totally dependent upon the approval of other people. Presumption, everything that happened to me in the past is in command of my feelings and behaviors in the here and now. Option, while it's true that your self-confidence was particularly vulnerable to outside influences during your childhood, as you get older, you are able to attain awareness and perspective on what those influences have been. In doing so, you are able to pick which influences you'll continue to let it have an effect on your life. You do not have to be helpless in the face of preceding events. In the following chapter we'll talk about mighty techniques for formulating self-confidence. Chapter 4, Mighty Techniques for Formulating Self-Confidence and Bravery. Synopsis: In the previous chapter we talked about suppositions that limit individuals. In this chapter we're going to talk about a few really mighty techniques for developing self-confidence and bravery. Strategies: stress your strengths. Give yourself credit for everything you are able to do. And give yourself credit for each new thing that you're willing to attempt. Accept chances. Acquire the mental attitude of, I never bomb, as there are no failures. All the same, occasionally I learn what does not work, and when I've discovered what does not work in a given state of affairs, I may do something else. Utilize self-talk. Utilize self-talk as a chance to counter harmful suppositions. And then, tell yourself to stop and replace more sensible suppositions. For instance, once you catch yourself anticipating perfection, remind yourself that no one may do everything perfectly, and that it's only imaginable to do things to the best of your power. This lets you to live with yourself while still endeavoring to improve. Self-assess. Learn to assess yourself independently. Avoid the unceasing sense of chaos that comes from relying too much on the notions of other people. Now what I'd wish you to do is to actually compose the answers to the accompanying questions. Individuals, who truly want to successfully formulate self-confidence and bravery, in reality, write the answers down. 1. In what region of your life do you lack self-confidence and bravery? Is it with the opposite sex? Is it in social spots? Is it with your foreman? Is it when you're confronted? Please put down the question, and the answers. 2. Why do you lack self-assurance in this region? May you supply facts or memories to rationalize your deficiency of confidence? Or do the realities tell you that you're truly a capable individual with negative anticipations? 3. Have you ever truly asked for that date? Or have you in reality asked your foreman for that raise? Or in reality climbed up that mountain? Or did you decline to even try it as you told yourself that you could not accomplish it? If you did in reality ask for the date, or the raise, or try whatever it is that you desired to try, and you bombed, what occurred? Were you wounded? Did it kill you? Are you lifeless? Or did you endure and scarcely make yourself feel bad about it? As if you survived and you made yourself feel bad about it, there's hope for you, as you're in command. You're in command as you made yourself feel bad. And if you are able to make yourself feel bad, then you are able to likewise make yourself feel all right, or even great about it. Now I'd like you to work out what your strengths are as relates to the field that you lack confidence in. And you're going to wish to write these strengths down. For now, brush aside any weak points that you believe you might have. For instance, if you lack self-confidence in social or dating type spots, consider the aspects of your personality that you do feel positive about, that may be associated to social or dating type spots. Do most individuals find you magnetic? Do most individuals find you to be intriguing, or funny, or well-informed, or insightful? Put down all of your strengths. Make certain that as you write up your list, you phrase everything in the positive. Put differently, if you're smart, put down, I am smart. Don't put down, I am not stupid. Everything must be formulated in such a way that you're telling yourself what you are, rather than what you're not. As an easy illustration, if you desired to tell yourself that you're not standing, how would you do it? Easy, you'd tell yourself that you're seated, or lying down. And if you wanted to tell yourself that you're not anxious, how would you accomplish that? That's easy also, you'd tell yourself that you're at ease. Get the theme? If you lack self-confidence when it comes to being confronted, what are your strengths here? Do you commonly only do things that you trust are the correct things to do? Are you level-headed? Do you commonly know what you're talking about? If you lack self-confidence when it comes to asking for a raise, what are your strengths here? Are you punctual? Are you great at what you do? Do you work hard, and so forth? Now I'd like you to study, and reread your list of strengths 10 times, aloud. Really view the words, and state them aloud 10 times. You're going to want you to do this exercise at least once per day for the following 21 days. In the meantime, begin imagining how your life would be better if you felt confident. And you'll feel confident in your power to transform into a confident individual. Chapter 5, Utilizing Hypnosis to Quickly Build Up Self-Confidence and Bravery. Synopsis. In the last chapter we talked about a few very mighty techniques for developing self-confidence and bravery. In this final chapter I'd like to discuss hypnosis so that you are able to learn what makes it so effective. The subconscious. First of all, if building up confidence were as easy as consciously understanding why we lack self-confidence, or consciously stating logical statements, or telling ourselves that we feel brave, then we'd all feel confident and brave and you likely wouldn't be reading this ebook. In reality, the lack of self-confidence is rooted in the unconscious. The unconscious mind is the seat of our emotions. And since the issue is at the unconscious, subconscious mind level of mind, then we must communicate with the unconscious mind to effect a shift in our feelings and actions. Both hypnosis and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, are mediums of communication with the unconscious. Knowledge is power, and it quickens and amplifies anybody's success. Sureness and hypnosis have long gone hand in hand as a hypnotherapy concern. A lot of individuals visit hypnotherapists to unlock the mysteries to self-confidence, bravery and hypnosis, in a lot of cases, appears to be the answer when all else bombs. Self-confidence and hypnosis frequently intertwine, the former being encouraged through the latter, when an individual is really on a quest to better himself. That's not to state there's only one way to self-assurance and hypnosis as the one true key. Instead, the power to love and trust in oneself may be discovered through assorted means, hypnosis being among them. A few individuals who suffer from low self-regard wish to take command of their lives but realize that they require help. They recognize they have to mature and face their fears but are not quite sure how to do so. They wish to share in the advantages of being courageous and brimming with self-assurance, and hypnosis may help them accomplish these traits in their lives. What's crucial is that an individual wishes to grow and is willing to attempt hypnotherapy to help correct his underdeveloped or distorted sense of self-worth. There has to be willingness to mature before positive results may be wrought. Self-assurance and hypnosis, how it works. The procedure is easy enough. There are no smoke and mirrors, no shifty machinations like a few individuals would have you believe. The route to enlightenment involves nothing more than an individual touching base with his fears and addressing them in a hypnotized state. The hypnotist will bring on a trance state and continue to engage a client in conversation, urging him to envision and confront particular truths in a positive and controlled setting that can't be duplicated elsewhere. For it's in a hypnotized state that individuals are free to face issues without repercussion. No bullies may overpower them, no overbearing parents may destroy their self-respect again and again. You see, the goal is to expose the impediments to self-assurance, and hypnosis is a good way to identify the matters that hinder individuals from maturating and help move them out the way, all without having to brave out the real-life pain of reliving particular dark experiences. Hypnosis lets people explore their past and carry on to the future, dealing with pain in ways that minimize its affect. A few might argue that if you are able to accomplish self-confidence without hypnosis, as many have been doing for centuries, why go for a hypnotherapy session? Certainly there's more credence to directly confronting your fears and learning in real life than bypassing reality. It sounds like a great argument, however many forget that self-assurance and hypnosis are not at odds in the first place. Hypnosis is an aid. It doesn't substitute the natural process of self-discovery, it assists it. Remember, self-assurance is personal growth and may only occur when an individual is willing to learn. Those who opt for hypnotherapy to encourage their self-esteem have that mental attitude. That, more than anything else, is what helps grow self-assurance, and hypnosis is merely a different tool in the world to help that growth process come to realization. Wrapping up, so there you have it. You've learned more than enough to help you get moving on your road to a more beneficial life. A road where you've the confidence and bravery to ask for whatever you wish, and to acquire whatever you wish. By the by, members of the opposite sex find self-confident individuals to be much more magnetic. Ladies in particular report that a confident man is a bigger turn-on than a good-looking man. There's a law of nature, known as the law of equal exchange. The law says that if an individual wishes something, they have to pay for it with something else of like value. If you're out shopping for apparel, and you discover something that you'd like to have, you have to pay for it with something else of like value, which in that case is money. If you wish to feel confident, then you'll have to pay for that feeling by altering the way that you perceive yourself at the core level, the unconscious level. Hypnosis is a medium of direct communication with the unconscious mind. Have you ever caught the term, garbage in, garbage out? That's how PCs work. They don't reason, like your conscious mind. Whatever you place into a PC is precisely what comes out of it. And your unconscious is your PC. It doesn't reason. It's the part of your brain where the way that you see yourself is stacked away. So now it's time for you, whether you're a man or a woman, to better your self-confidence and courage.